sports, a bridge that brings people together. And here in the Commonwealth, it's no different. From the gridiron to the hardwood and beyond, we all have a team we love to talk about. Now for the teams you care about, here's Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice.
Welcome into Heartland Sports Live. Trevor Rice with you on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we are live streaming on ESPNRadio1061.com. You can go back and catch every show on my Twitter link at Radio Trevor Rice. You'll see a link there for the Apple podcast there, and you'll see that this show will be uploaded tomorrow. I have in studio with me right now LaRue County. We're going to preview their 2019 season. I have the head coach, Josh Jaggers. I have Mark Good, who plays tight end, and on the offensive and defensive line, Tucker, is that right?
Yes.
I have Tucker Shelton in here as well, as we're going to preview LaRue County's 2019 season. Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Let's talk about last year before we get to this year, because I think a lot of what last year presented is going to kind of look. Yeah, we're going to look at this season and kind of go off of last year, because there is some returning talent that is on this year's team that saw some success a year ago, a deep run in the playoffs. And I have a feeling, Coach, if we're looking at that, they're gonna feel hungry, be hungry, and want more, right?
You hope so, and I mean I know they do. We last year was a fun year. It was a hard year and it was a fun year because I thought we had enough returning off that 2017 team, even though we'd graduated 22 seniors the year before, that we had the makings, if we could just stay healthy, of potentially doing something last year. And these two will tell you, times throughout the regular season it was a lot frustrating because we lost a couple close games and had a couple games blow up in our face, but November got here, and they decided to put it all together. And fortunately, we were still healthy, and we got on a roll. And it was a pretty amazing year, to say the least. Yeah, well, what happened there?
You go 8-6 overall, finished I think 15th overall in 3A. The regular season didn't go how you guys wanted it to, but all of a sudden you guys just did something and transitioned into the postseason mode and had a deep run going. What happened from the regular season to the postseason?
I think it just realized it was do or die, really and truly, because they'll tell you, we didn't do anything different in the playoffs than we were trying to do all year long. It was just one of those, when you get to November, it's now or never. There's no looking back, no regrets. And they just up front started playing like we thought they could all year long. Our running backs started blocking for one another. Connor Baker, who was our quarterback, one of our quarterbacks, was a sophomore at the time. He would be one of the first ones to tell you that he struggled a little bit early on being a new quarterback, and when Connor started coming along, he was a big reason we won a lot of our games in the playoffs, truth be told, just because he was able to make a few plays here and there, especially in the Union County game, on all three games, really. Union County game, we came out and threw for almost 200 yards, and they were kind of like, what's going on here? And then against Caldwell County and E-Town, he was able to make some reads and some of the option game stuff that we do that just were some big pivotal downs and 2-point conversions and touchdowns. So it was a team collective effort where everybody just started to finally click.
One of the most fun matchups that I got to call last year was your guys' final victory of the season. It ended up being the third round of the playoffs against Elizabethtown. We'll go to you players now.
Yeah.
What happened there at halftime? Because the first half, LaRue County, you were just kind of hanging around. You forced a couple of errors on E-Town. They were up big, but they weren't quite out of reach yet. What happened from that first half to the second half? And I'll let either one of you go first.
Well, when you get into those win-or-go-home situations, and like we were down pretty big at halftime, and you just look around at the people you spent the last 6 months with through summer to now, and you don't want that stuff to end. And being against E-Town of all people, it's something inside you makes you not want it's win no matter what. And I think that had a big part of it.
And I think that showed how much we grew as a team over the season, because we were kind of in like similar situations, and earlier games, and we just kind of rolled over and quit. But, we knew we weren't going to quit, and it was kind of a pride factor, really. And, we just kept fighting, and they eventually wore down, and, all the hard work we've done, it really started to pay off, and we were just built for November.
When did you guys realize that you had that game won?
I'd say when we were behind just one touchdown, I could just sense a shift of power between E-Town and LaRue. Like, all of E-Town's fans and stuff, they just went completely silent, and ours were really getting hyped, and I was like, we got these guys.
There was a feeling just in the air after that second onside kick we recovered. Everybody, like, you could just feel it, that we had it. We had all the momentum, and in football, momentum's everything. And when you're sitting there looking at each other, we were going to be region champions.
We are previewing LaRue County's 2019 high school football season, talking about last year's, I guess you could say, accolades. I have head coach Josh Jaggers in here. I have Mark Good, tight end for LaRue County, and on the offensive line and defensive line, I have Tucker Shelton in the studio with me here on Heartland Sports Live. Let's look at this year now. You boys entering your senior seasons. It's kind of a surreal moment. Mark, I've been watching you play basketball since you were a freshman with LaRue County, and Tucker, you've been doing your thing on the gridiron for this team. Let's talk about what your feelings are going into this final season for you boys, and I'll let either one of you speak on it first.
Well, you only get to be a senior once, and I've been going at it since freshman year here, but it's a special thing, and I wish it would never end, but we got to give it all you can. I'd love to make another deep playoff run, send it off nice.
Well, if I could go back and change things, I would have been playing football from the get-go. But, the last 2 years, I've liked to think that I've put a lot of hard work into this program, and I know Coach Jaggers he's really been there for all of us and put a ton of hard work. And, even the teammates, we all work hard. And, this being my final season, I just want to leave it all out there. And when the final whistle blows, I just want to be able to look back and know that I gave it all I had and our team gave it all we had.
I read an interesting quote last year out of the paper, and Mark, you said you didn't know if there was, I guess, a fit for a guy your size, your height in football. What made you all of a sudden decide one day that I wanted to go and try this? When I saw LaRue County have a really successful season my sophomore year, it just looked like a whole lot of fun. And I'd played football when I was in, youth league and stuff, and I was actually pretty good at it. And, I don't really know what made me pull the trigger on coming out, but it was, I was just kind of ready to be able to get physical with some people and be able to just impose my will on them, I guess. I would say, Coach, that these boys are pretty much going to be the definition of LaRue County football moving forward. You're going to look back at this year's team, and these two are going to be highlights for years to come on what you expect with LaRue County football. What does this year's senior class mean to you?
Oh, these guys! I mean, they've been there for the bad. They've been there for the rough times, and then their last couple years they've been there for the good times. A lot of these guys, Tuck, for example, he was. I remember when he was a 6th, 7th grader in middle school, and he was in the middle school locker room when I was the head coach first go around, and things were rough. Those last couple of years of mine, and Coach Hatmaker took over, and there was a rough year or two, and then they've been there for the good times. And these guys have seen the fall, and they've seen the rise, and I know that they want to go out. Last year we preached to Anthony's group and Dalis's group, how do you want to be remembered? Because the previous year with Dane and all those guys, they went in 10-2 and had a great year, and it was their turn. How do you want to be remembered? And we've been preaching the same thing to these guys, from team accolades to individual accolades to just the entire season as a whole. How do you want to be remembered? And it's been one of the best 3 weeks of practice that I've had in my now 15 years of coaching. These guys have just really, they've bought in. They've been bought in for a long time. I mean, their attitudes are great. They just exceptional team players. They don't care who gets the credit. And not that the last couple of years we had anybody that did either, but these guys have just kind of seen and bought into how we do things, and they exemplify that as well as any group I've ever coached.
One of the things that, and I saw you share a video of this. I think you were actually streaming it. New facility down there, and that really brings it full circle as far as where this program has gone and where the attention is going as far as LaRue County athletics goes. Talk about the change in not only the players' attitude, from seeing that, because that can be a motivation for those guys to go in and want to perform even harder than what they've done before. So talk about the new, I think it's the new weight room and every new locker room and everything like that. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's the same building that was built. Our field house was built back in the mid 70s, and to be quite honest with you, it just not a lot had been done to it over the last 40 plus years, and it just got to be a point where they deserve something nice. Not just these guys are football players, but our entire student athletes. And I, with the support of our administration, I went to them, and they believed in the vision that we had as a football program. And we're football's footing a lot of the bill for this, which is fine. Which is what we want to do. But it was just time. These kids deserve something. And, if we want to be the best, it's time we put our money where our mouth is, literally. And we go give these kids some of the best facilities that we can within reason to allow them to compete. And, new facilities just bringing electricity, and it's its own form of recruitment. Kids want to be in there. As you get older, you don't really, and you're working out and doing stuff, all you need is a barbell and, a squat rack and go to work. But when you're a teenager, it's a little bit different. You need something to attract them to come in or to attract them to buy in and be there and give it everything they had. And it was just time for a facelift. So we, again, with the support of our administration, with some things, and then believing in the vision that we had, they let us go to work, and it's been an all spring, all June project. There hadn't really been much of a summer for me because myself and a couple other coaches and a few other guys that were helping, we've been up there pretty much all summer long, but it's been worth it. And to see the looks on their faces that first day when they came back in after dead period, and now seeing that we're able to lift the entire team, which we've got about almost 50 kids, whereas before you could only lift you could have about 20 in there and it ended up just being chaos, So now we're able to lift 45, 50 kids at one time, and it's being biased but also realistic. It's probably one of the nicest weight rooms in the state of Kentucky. So we're proud to have it. It's something we wanted to do for them, not just football team, but our entire student athletes, and they're all using it. So we're really proud of it.
And how do you guys feel about it? Obviously, that, as Coach said, that had to be pretty exciting on day one after the dead period, going in there and seeing that.
Yeah, I've been in the old weight room ever since I moved here, and it was not nice, not fun to go into. But now it's the Taj Mahal of weight rooms, and it really made all of us happy and proud to say we play for LaRue County.
We are previewing LaRue County's 2019 season. I have LaRue County head coach Josh Jaggers. I have Mark Good and Tucker Shelton, two seniors for this year's LaRue County Hawks team here on Heartland Sports Live. Every team has goals going into the season. Obviously, you would like to see a championship and such. Do you have individual goals that you boys are looking to accomplish here this season?
I don't really have too many individual goals as far as stats, but I just want to, after every game, I want that guy that I was going up against the entire game to just know that, I whooped him, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
What about you, Tucker?
I usually try to give it all out on the field, but I don't set too many personal goals. I want my teammates to know I'm the man, though, that I went as hard as I could out there and know that I'm the alpha on the football field.
Yeah, and you guys are being looked to as leaders on this year's team. Some of the younger kids, we're talking freshmen, sophomores. I mean, how have you been helping them come along here to improve their game?
Well, every year it's just a reload. You don't look to rebuild, you look to reload. And we have a lot of young kids, but they're getting along fine. We hope to set a good example so they can be like us, but I think they are. They're coming along really good, actually, in the first 3 weeks of practice.
What about you, Mark? Obviously, this is going to be your second year. You came in a little bit late to the whole thing, but it seems like you've adjusted pretty well. I mean, getting a Division I offer, going and committing to WKU for next year. Do your teammates come up to you and ask for any pointers or whatever, just from how you've learned and adjusted to the game?
Yeah, probably the biggest way I help the young guys out is just, I'm nice to them. I'm very encouraging, and really all the seniors do that. There's some senior classes, they think you got to treat, the younger classmen like dogs or whatever, but we know we're all brothers at the end of the day, and yeah, we're always just there to help each other out, and we always have each other's backs.
Coach, you've been there. You were kind of in the transition period of where this team was to where it is now. Where do you feel like this coaching staff really saw this team come along and really buy in? And like you said earlier, buy in. Then that's what what a majority of this is. When did you see that transition really start to take effect?
Honestly, and I'm not saying this to sound cliche or anything, but really and truly, day one, 2017, I really did, because, I had a relationship with these guys beforehand where I was there the first time. Dane Milby and Bryson Cobb and Shane King and all those guys on the 17 team, they were freshmen my last go-round, or 1.0, as I say. A majority of them started. So there was that familiarity there with them that helped the transition period into the second tenure as being the head football coach here. So just really and truly from the jump, there's never been any wavering from the kids side of things. The coaching staff, for the majority, were a lot of guys that I had hired the first time around. As a coaching staff, it's as cohesive as a group as I've ever been around. I mean, everybody's on the same page. We're all good friends, but we're also good enough friends to where, we can share opinions with one another and realize that they're opinions to better the program, and it's not any have to worry. A lot of staffs, head coaches have to worry about that guy or two that might be stabbing them in the back. There is none of that with us. I mean, it is as a tight knit of a group as I've ever been around, and that chemistry that you're talking about between the guys, whether it's these two and there are other seniors and the freshmen, or myself and the coaching staff, when you have that type of chemistry, that usually makes for good things, even in the good times and even in the bad times, because you're going to have those. But probably pretty much from day one, really and truly, it's been pretty special.
Let's look at this year's schedule. Anything stand out in particular? How do you feel like you guys are going to come out? I know, obviously, the big showdown is going to be you guys in E-Town once again. That's where it always falls down to that game, it seems like. But looking at the rest of the schedule, how do you guys feel like you match up?
It's loaded. One thing that when I got this job, Rodney Arms, who most successful coach our program's ever had by far, and one thing Rodney, a good friend of mine, Rodney told me, he said, when you have successful years here, he said, get ready for the schedule to bump up quite a bit, he said, because for whatever reason, when LaRue County's good for a couple of years, a lot of people that usually play you, that need to be playing you, won't play you. And we're finding that out starting next year. We open up, we're starting with our scrimmages. We scrimmage Central Hardin, and then we scrimmage John Hardin, and then we go to Glasgow, our opening game. They were in the region finals last year. Then we host Taylor County, who was a 4A region champ last year. Then we go to Campbellsville, who won a 1A region championship last year. And then we play Casey County, who the last couple years has won 19 games. They're on a high. So, and then obviously you get into our district and the E-Town and Bardstown, and the list goes on as far as our schedule goes. So we are playing an extremely challenging schedule. And I've told people this. You can play a bunch of cupcakes, and a lot of times it's kind of fool's gold. A lot of 9-1, 10-0, 8-2 teams out there that they're if they were playing a more challenging schedule, they may not have that record. And it's kind of like last year. We were 5-5 at the end of the regular season, but we were still a pretty good team, and I think we showed that. Well, we knew there's no thinking to it. We did show that when the playoffs came along, and it could very well be the same thing this year. We stay healthy. which that's going to be our biggest key because our depth is the biggest area where we're lacking, and they'll tell you that. But because we're going to have about 8 playing both ways. But if we stay healthy, we could very well, due to our schedule, be 5-5, 6-4, what have you, and still have a good team, and hopefully once again be built for November. But because that's what people remember. But our schedule is loaded. E-Town is going to be stacked. Glasgow's stacked. Taylor County stacked. Bardstown is back. They've had a couple down years, but they're expecting big things back over there again. Hart County had one of their best seasons ever, if not in history, last year. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're looking forward to it.
Offensively and defensively, I know on the offensive side you ran a lot with AA last year. What do we expect offensively and defensively from your squad?
Same kind of things. We're doing some things a little bit different offensively this year that I think fits our personnel, but we're still going to be pounding the rock, and I mean that's who we are. That's the kids have that's their identity. It's what they love doing. These 2 guys beside me, and then we've got a few other linemen. I'd be a fool not for us not to line up Jeremiah and Thomas Moon and Matthew Lewis, Tyrell Coulter, and some of our other running backs, and Connor Baker, our quarterback. Be a fool not to line up and run behind these guys. But we're going to do some things this year that are going to allow us to be more conducive for throwing the ball when we need to throw it. And we've been working really hard at it. But defensively, just playing sound. We've got to get better there. This year our offense is probably going to be our best defense, truth be told. And we're not going to play up tempo. We're going to slow it down, do what we do, grind things out. But we're just going to keep with the same mentality. We're going to pound it, and then when you load the box, try to complete vertical passes for touchdowns, and then defensively, do your job. Nick Saban talks about that defensively, and Bill Belichick. We ain't got a lot of rules. Do your job, play your spot, take care of you, and then hopefully we take care of us.
For the players, one last question: anybody look forward to playing most this season? Like, what's the one game you look forward to playing?
As always, E-Town. You just can't. It's perfect storybook stuff. And coming off last year, we split with them, but we won when it mattered. And I just want to do it again.
What about you, Mark?
I mean, yeah, I get pretty excited for all games, but I mean, E-Town, it's hard to beat that game, especially when it's at E-Town. Nothing like going in there and giving it your best shot. And like last year, the second time we played them, putting a nice little knot on the top of their head. Hopefully we can do that again this year.
Well, last question for all of you. This summer and the preparations getting ready for week 1, how do you feel like you are right now for week 1? Do you feel like you're ready to go and compete, or do you feel like there's still some steps you got to take to get ready to get to that point?
Oh, there's some definite steps to take. I mean, I don't know if we'll be as ready as we can be. Now, will we look as good week 1 as we hopefully do week 10? No, but that's to be expected. And I heard a saying once upon a time. My grandfather said he heard it from a guy. He was talking about scrimmages and week 1. He said, if you look really good in your scrimmages and early on in the season, it's probably because of 2 things. 1, you've peaked, or 2, who you're playing is not very good. Well, 1, we're not going to have peaked in our scrimmages in week 1. And 2, I can assure you, it's not going to be because of who we're playing, because it's Murderers Row. And then we got our district with E-Town and Bardstown. That's a whole nother element. So, but we'll get there. Our key thing that the biggest worry, every coach has worries, is we're trying to keep these guys safe and healthy, because our depth the last couple of years, we've had some depth. Had a lot of depth in 17. Last year had a little bit, and this year it's going to be Ironman football. It's going to be the epitome of Ironman football. I mean, we're doing a whole lot of conditioning, because these guys and about 7 or 8 of their buddies, they're not going to be getting a whole lot of blows. So we're just trying to keep them healthy. And hopefully, once again, when we get to November, being in a good spot to maybe be able to do some things once again. So that's kind of our goal.
We've been previewing LaRue County's 2019 season with head coach Josh Jaggers, Mark Good, Tucker Shelton in here as well, 2 seniors going into will be their final time dressing up with the Hawks this year, and it should be a fun one to watch. And we'll see you guys later this year when you guys take on E-Town here on 106.1 ESPN Radio. So I'm looking forward to that game just because that's going to be a fun one. And I appreciate you guys coming in, and good luck this season.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, always.
Thank you to LaRue County High School football for talking to me, previewing their 2019 season. Coming up, Heartland Sports Live will continue. I will have Marty Smith from Marty Smith's America podcast. He has a new book, and we're going to talk about it coming up next. It's Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we're live streaming on ESPN Radio 1061.com.
I'm Jacob Stover, Commissioner of the Elizabethtown Area Youth Football. You are listening to Heartland Sports Live with Trevor Rice on 106.1 ESPN Radio.
Hey, welcome back into Heartland Sports Live. Joining me right now on the phone line is Marty Smith, Marty Smith's America podcast. Also, you hear about the Marty Party, and you hear about this book that Marty has just put out as well, entitled Never Settle. Marty, I just want to say that I'm a fan of yours, and I appreciate you coming on to my show.
Well, I appreciate you having me, brother. It's a wild day. I will say it's been quite a day. It's been a humbling experience to put this piece out there, and I really appreciate you having me.
Let's talk about this book. I'm into this book. I'm nearing the halfway point of myself, so I have not read the second half of it, but I've read about some important people in your life. First of all, your parents. In fact, your dad really made a big impact on your life. Let's begin there and talk about how there was some regrets. I read about you and your mom, who unfortunately passed away way too early. Talk about that and the impact they've pretty much played in your life.
Huge. I was so fortunate to have great parents. And you're right, my mom did die too young. She died at 47 years old in 1998. And just a few days after I graduated from college. And to see the way that cancer took her from us and how awful that disease is, it just kind of gave me this philosophy that I'm going to live hard and play hard and pray hard and be kind and ask for forgiveness and try to be a good man. And that's been a process too. I've been very fortunate that people have believed in me. I've made mistakes, and everyone from my friends, certainly my wife, who has tremendous grace, have kind of shown me that path. And I'll tell you, man, like when we lost my mom, we lost my dad too, because he was very depressed after Mom died, and he was around physically for about another decade or so, but he was pretty well checked out emotionally at that time, and that was really hard for my sister and me. And then when he died, you lose this compass. I don't care what your relationship is with your father, and mine was really close before he kind of struggled with that depression and whatnot. But you lose this compass when you lose your dad. You lose this amazing map that always points you in the right direction. And you have a question, you can call your daddy, and he's going to have an answer. He's going to be able to help you. And suddenly that was gone for me, and I had to make these decisions by myself, and that was hard. And, yeah, all that's in the book. And I'm pretty vulnerable in the way that I write it, and because I think it's going to be relatable to so many people.
When I mention a name in Olivia, what comes to mind?
Grace and beauty and simplicity and complete paradigm shift of my worldview and kindness. She was a global force, and she impacted me as much as anybody I've ever met. And we were only friends for a little while. I met her in 2015 at the Special Olympics World Games. She was a sprinter for the U.S. team. She had autism, and she was a wonderful soul. And not only did she have autism, but she was simultaneously training for the World Games and battling stage 4 breast cancer all at the same time. And when I met her, she said, I want you to just show the world. I want you to let everyone know how positive I am. because I'm going to come out here and I'm going to win gold medals, and I'm going to show women all over this globe what they can do with this disease. And then she went and did it. And I've never met anybody quite like her. I got to know her parents, Dan and Judy, very well. And I can't wait for your listeners to read about Olivia and my relationship with her, because she truly is, she was a force, man, and I adore her.
Marty Smith's book out now, Never Settle, Sports Family and the American Soul. Marty, I've gotten to see you throughout the years on television. I'm a big NASCAR fan, so that's where I kind of, discovered you, just because of your relationships with the drivers and such through ESPN and all of your broadcast career up until that point. Dale Earnhardt Jr., you'd say he's a pretty good friend of yours, and you mentioned him in the book. One of the things that I found interesting about what I've read up to so far in your book is he told you that you need to listen more when it comes to your interview style, which I thought was interesting.
Shut up.
Yeah, he told you to shut. He told you to shut up. I was going to put it nicely, but he told you. He told you to shut up. So talk about how a guy in yourself, who I felt like you're pretty close to everybody as it is, and I feel like you are the guy who listens. What did that moment say from when you were talking with Dale Jr.?
It was the single greatest advice I've gotten professionally. And it took a real good friend, and it took somebody that I respected to that degree to say that to my face. I had done an interview with Jeff Gordon at Daytona. I think it was 2012, as I recall. And the interview aired before the race in Loudon, New Hampshire. And Junior finished the race and got out of his car, and if you're a fan, then you know all them guys get out of their cars and they walk around their cars and they look for every dent and scratch and this and that. And he turns to the gaggle of reporters and he kind of points at me. And he kind of does a, hey, get over here movement, like a head whip. And I kind of pointed at myself, like, me? And he did it again. So I went over there, and he put his back to the reporters, and where I was facing the reporters. And he goes, hey, you need to shut up. You need to stop interrupting people. And I bowed up on him. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He said, I was watching that interview you did with Jeff, and I wanted to hear some of the things that he had to say, and you were cutting him off. You don't need to be cutting people off. You need to let them finish their thought. You need to shut up and listen. And, man, I felt about an inch tall in that moment because I knew he was right. I knew in my heart, he's right. I should have let Jeff finish his thought. And I probably lost as a result of trying to make sure that Jeff stayed on task on the absolute topic that I was going after. And it completely changed me as an interviewer. And I am forever indebted to him for that. It's funny, we talk about it now every now and then, and he's like, man, you need to let that go. And I'm like, no, dude, I don't need to let it go. It was very important for me professionally that he not only felt that way, but that he didn't just let it, sit there, that he had the guts to say it to my face. That's what friends do, and he wanted to see me be better.
We have Marty Smith on right now talking about his new book, Never Settle. You're a Virginia boy, and I know that you cover college football. You're a big college football fan. So if I remember right, I believe you're a Hokie, right? You're a Hokies fan?
I grew up a pretty passionate one, yes. I will say, that's home, and I love it, and I love that place. And I love Coach Beamer and all that.
What's Frank Beamer like?
The most, the kindest, chillest guy. Like, he's this conduit to my dad, though. And his son, Shane, who is now on Lincoln Riley's staff at Oklahoma. He's the assistant head coach at Oklahoma under Lincoln. Shane and I played every sport against each other in high school. And I'm very quick to remind him that we kicked their tail and everything. And so Coach Beamer is this titan for me. And so that's what he's like. He's inspirational, and Dude, he built an institution. People all over this land know where Blacksburg, Virginia is because of him. And that's a heck of a legacy.
You're exactly right. How do you think your Hokies do this year, by the way?
I don't know. I think they're picked third or something in their half of the league, somewhere around in there. I think they have work to do. They lost a quarterback to Maryland, and there's some people feel certain ways about that. I really liked that player's talent, that skill set. We do have Virginia Tech has other really skilled quarterbacks, but I think there's a couple years away here. I think there's a few positions that are needed, but I think maybe 8 wins, somewhere around in there.
Putting aside your love for Virginia Tech, you spend a lot of time, in particular recently, I know you've been spending time down in Clemson. You've spent some time with some SEC folks and such, and you kind of move around. What would you say is the most unique coach, or who's the most unique coach that you've gotten a chance to talk with and just hang out with?
Oh, a lot of them. Whether it's Mike Leach or Ed Orgeron, or the one that comes to mind is Dabo. Will Muschamp, he's a really intense guy. Dan Mullen's a trip. Mark Stoops, your guy up there in Kentucky, is an amazing dude. But Dabo just built his program and sustained his program a completely different way. And he loves them up, and he's just such a unique character. And he wears every bit of who he is right on his sleeve, unapologetically. He does not care. And, man, those players love playing for that guy. So I guess of all, I've met a lot. Harbaugh, I've met some really interesting dudes, man. And Coach Harbaugh, he's a polarizing guy because he hasn't beaten Ohio State, and that's the standard by which Michigan coaches are measured. But I don't care, man. Don't bring me that stuff. What he's done for these young men in Ann Arbor, and the way he's growing them, and some people feel like his spring trips are so polarizing. The life experiences that those players are getting are immeasurable. I know, I've lived it. I've gone across the globe with that bunch. So, I don't know. I'm on a bit of a tangent. I've met a whole lot of college football coaches that are interesting.
No, I love it. I find it interesting myself. Never Settle. You can buy the book now. Marty Smith joining us on Heartland Sports Live. I'm going to throw some questions here at you, rapid fire, real quick, Marty. You can give short answers, long answers, however you want to handle it. Favorite country song?
Sinners Like Me, Eric Church.
Favorite NASCAR moment?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. winning the 2001 Pepsi 400 at Daytona.
You were kind of talking about it right there. I guess favorite campus that you've gotten to visit so far, college-wise?
That's a really tough one, man, because what separates college football from everything else is tradition, passion, pageantry, all of those things. That's a very difficult one for me to answer. I will say probably the best game experience that I've had was Saturday night in Death Valley when Alabama came to Baton Rouge, and that place is just absolutely off its rocker the entire time. It's a spectacle unlike I've ever witnessed.
I'm going to Virginia question here. RIR or Martinsville?
Man, I don't...
Making you think about this one.
Not only did you make me think, I got to think about the politics involved. I'm going Martinsville.
Martinsville. Is it because the hot dogs give it the edge, or what?
Those things look like glow sticks, don't they? Tell you what, you eat a couple of those, you better watch the near future because it's going to get rowdy.
One surprise upset, real quick, that you think is going to happen this year in college football.
Surprise upset. I don't know specific games, but can I give you a team I think will be a dark horse instead?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd have to look at the schedule to pick an upset for you, but I really like Utah, man. I really do. I think their schedule's favorable, and I love what Coach Whittingham is building out there. I think that they could really surprise some people out there in the Pac-12. let me think about early year game. I don't want to be a cop-out on you. I want to think of a good upset.
Maybe
Like
maybe my Huskers over Ohio State.
I thought you might go there. And I know some of my colleagues who think that's going to happen. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but it would surprise me in a world that doesn't surprise me if that were to happen. I do believe that your Huskers will be 4-0 when they face a 4-0 Ohio State team that weekend in Lincoln.
We have Marty Smith, Never Settle. Buy the book now. It's a fantastic read so far from what I've read, and I can't wait to read the rest of it. Marty, I appreciate you coming on to my show, and it's been an absolute privilege, sir.
Trevor, you're the man. I appreciate you having me, brother. Y'all be good out there in Kentucky.
ESPN's Marty Smith joining Heartland Sports Live, and you heard us talking about the book. It is entitled Never Settle, Sports, Family, and the American Soul. If you would like a copy, they gave me an extra one to give away. I will give it to you. The first one to text me at 982-1073. Again, that's 982-1073. The first one to text me their name and ESPN will get this book, and I will keep it reserved for you to come by and pick up over the next couple of weeks here in our 106.1 ESPN radio studio. Again, text 982-1073 if you would like a copy of this book, Marty Smith's book. 982-1073. Your name, text me your name to that number and the letters ESPN. It's that simple. It's Heartland Sports Live, and this hour is brought to you by CC Power Sports in Brooks, Kentucky. CC Power Sports, exit 121 just south of the Snyder off I-65. Get your hands on a new or pre-owned Suzuki ATV, motorcycle, scooter, while the deals are hot. CC Power Sports, a short drive up I-65 in Shepherdsville. We're going to wrap up today's program right after this. It's Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we live stream every show on ESPNRadio1061.com.
This is Rick Walters with the Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame, and you're listening to Heartland Sports live on 106.1 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back into Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM, and we live stream on ESPNRadio1061.com. Trevor Rice hanging out with you. I want to thank LaRue County High School football for coming in here and talking with me here in the studio about their 2019 season. I would like to thank Marty Smith for joining me on the line last segment and talking about his new book that I'm sure is going to do very well, entitled Never Settle. I've read a good chunk of it. I promise you guys, if you go and pick yourself up a copy, you will not be disappointed, especially if you're a sports fan and you just like to read things about sports, personal stories from different individuals. Well, how about we talk about some sports? The Titans ended up winning 27-10 in their opening preseason game last Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles. They have the Patriots coming up. And so let's go ahead and look at the schedule this week, because I know that later on the Titans will actually play the Patriots. But before we get to that, let's talk about who the Reds play. And, of course, they just wrapped up a series over the weekend against the Chicago Cubs. And so this week we expect the Reds to, from here on out, take advantage of August, and the Reds are going to win out. Wishful thinking, but that's what we're going to hope for. So the Reds this week, looking at the schedule before we talk about what the Titans will expect, that is going to be on, the 17th. That is this Saturday is when the Titans play. We're going to have a jam-packed week of Reds baseball all the way up until then, which begins tonight. They're going to begin a 3-game series with the Washington Nationals on the road. 7:05 tonight on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 6:35 pregame. Same story for tomorrow night as well, 6:35 pregame, 7:05 at our first pitch against the Nationals, the Reds and Nationals tomorrow night, and then they'll wrap up their 3-game series with the Nationals on Wednesday with an afternoon game at 3:35 is the pregame. 4:05 is an afternoon first pitch. Then they'll get back into National League Central play beginning Thursday against the Cardinals at home. 7:10 is when the first pitch will go out Thursday night. Friday night, keep it locked here to 106.1 ESPN Radio. The Reds and Cardinals will play game 2 of a 4-game series, 7:10. And then Saturday, we will not be airing the Reds and Cardinals game because we will be airing the Titans and the Steelers, or excuse me, the Titans and the Patriots. Second preseason game for the Titans. 7 p.m., 6 p.m. will be the pregame this Saturday evening. So if you want to catch some preseason football here on 106.1 ESPN Radio, the Titans will be hosting the Patriots, a team that they dominated actually this past season during the regular season at home, which was pretty crazy. I was at that game. The Titans just straight up just took it to Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and that team. Well, they clashed once again here in preseason play, and the Titans 1-0 in preseason play. If that says anything about what the regular season looks like, I'd say that's pretty good, considering the fact that Titans play the Browns in week 1, which is not going to be an easy test. And then for Sunday, we're going to wrap up the sports week. The Cardinals will play game 4 of their 4-game series with the Cardinals at home this weekend. It'll be an early afternoon game, and 12:40 is when the pregame is. 1:10 is going to be the opening pitch. So that's what the schedule looks like here sports-wise on 106.1 ESPN Radio this week. So if you're looking to catch some Reds baseball, you're going to have plenty of it. Titans football this Saturday. Titans, like I said, winning 27-10 last Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles, and they would like to keep that trend rolling, as I think this is a make-or-break year for Marcus Mariota. You have to perform if you're Mariota if you want to stay with this organization, because I think moving forward, if you're Coach Vrabel, you're looking at, do I need to get a new guy at the quarterback position? And being the face of Nashville, like Marcus Mariota is, you would hope that he would excel and keep the job, because I feel like that if he stays healthy and this offense improves, like, he is the guy moving forward for this Titans organization. But the thing is, he's got to stay healthy, and we haven't seen too many full runs for Marcus Mariota over his tenure with the Tennessee Titans, because it seems like he always has an injury at some point, whether it be the beginning, middle, or ending part of the season. So we haven't seen him for a complete run. But when we have seen him effective, he has been the guy. He has been the guy to carry that team on his back. It's just, can he stay healthy? Can he be clean for 16 straight games without taking a hit or going down awkwardly or just going down with an injury that's going to keep him out for a significant amount of weeks? That's going to be the main concern for Titans fans moving forward this season, as you would like to see the Titans get off to a strong start, because the AFC South is not going to be an easy division, people. Much like the National League Central we talk about with the Cincinnati Reds, with the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Pirates, and the Reds all together, the AFC South is basically what the National League Central is on the baseball side. Just a bunch of teams who, they don't do things pretty. They just beat each other up, and you had 3 teams who were in contention of winning the AFC South a year ago. So I would expect between the Texans, the Jaguars, who have Nick Foles now at quarterback, I would expect them to be better offensively. The Colts, who are going to be, I think, the best team in the division this year, at least coming back from last year, offensively and defensively, much improved on the defensive side of the football. I think that if the Titans can improve any from where they were a year ago offensively and improve on that 9-7 mark, you're going to have possibly a 3 or 4-way battle all the way to the end this season. Because when you have quarterbacks like Andrew Luck, Deshaun Watson, as well as Nick Foles now at Jacksonville, and Marcus Mariota, if he can stay healthy and get going, this could be the most fun division to watch in the National League, the National Football League this year. I'm just saying. Legitimately, all 4 teams, as it stands right now, have a chance, whereas other divisions, like just take the AFC North, for example. All right, you know the Steelers are going to be contenders. You know the Browns, with their new weapons, they're going to be contenders. Ravens, bunch of question marks there, especially at quarterback. Bengals, bunch of question marks. First-year head coach, Andy Dalton, still Andy Dalton. A lot of question marks there. So you know what I mean. The AFC South loaded front to back as far as what we expect this year. And like I said, 3 teams a year ago competing for the AFC South number 1 slot going into the playoffs. So, I mean, you would like to think that with the Texans having Deshaun Watson healthy and looking better defensively this year, we could have 4 teams realistically duking it out, with the Jaguars now having Nick Foles too to hopefully be competitive on the offensive side of the football. Trevor Rice with you on 106.1 ESPN Radio, Heartland Sports Live. We do this every Monday, 5 until 6. Let's come back next Monday and do it all over, and we'll see if we can get Mike Matheson on the show and talk about some high school football, getting ready for the upcoming season, and what we expect here in Hardin County for next week, because the 23rd, August 23rd is our first game. Bobby Thompson and I will bring you the first game. It'll be Central Hardin taking on Davies County over in Cecilia. And that'll be our first game come Friday the 23rd. And the 24th, we'll be up at Fairdale as North Hardin will kick off their 2019 football season. So a lot of action to talk about before we get to it. And we're going to welcome you along for the ride. Trevor Rice with you. It's Heartland Sports Live on 106.1 ESPN Radio, 1400 AM. Give me a follow on social media at Twitter, at Radio Trevor Rice, and you'll see a link there to go and download and listen to every show of Heartland Sports Live, because that's what I want. Have a fantastic sports week. Let's meet back here next Monday.